welcome to another episode of the Work Global News Magazine Changemaker interview series. I'm Dr. Christy Taylor, founder of Work Global News, and I'm excited about today's interview with Nathalie Plamondon-Thomas. She is a 2023 Most Empowering Confidence Coach in North America, and she was named the 2021 Canadian Presenter of the Year. She has written over 18 books and been endorsed by Tony Robinson. And so I'm so excited about this Changemaker interview today. And I'm going to turn it over to Nathalie to introduce herself, and then we'll jump right into this interview.
Dr. Taylor, Christy, oh my gosh, I don't know what to call you, the one. I'm super excited to be meeting you this morning. I'm super excited to meet your audience. It's going to be fun. I'm a small town girl from outside of Quebec City, live in Canada on the West Coast, and this accent is not going anywhere, so get used to it.
Well, I'm a Southern girl from a small town, and hey, this I've been gone from the South for 20 years, and this accent is going nowhere. So I love the fact that you just came right in with some strong energy, and you are a confidence coach. I mean, I can tell it right away, right? So you had just such a transformative journey, both personally and professionally, Nathalie. And can you share a bit of a pivotal moment when your mindset really shifted to truly change the direction of your life? Because I love this ideology of, you being a confidence coach and just being named Most Empowering Confidence Coach.
See, it wasn't always the case. I had moved from Quebec City to Toronto, big city, started working at a gym there. So I don't know if you've been in that situation where you're brand new, you don't know anybody, you're doing your best, but you're so not popular. And so how do you go from begging your boss from pulling your classes from the schedule, because Christy, there was only 2 people coming to my classes, to becoming fitness instructor of the year for Canada less than a year later? So I'll tell you what happened. The gym was introducing a new dance program, and they needed a demo team. So I put my hand up to be part of that. I have danced in the past, so I thought, okay, I can do this. So picture this. You're on stage in front of 150 instructors that are so much better than you, and you're part of the demo team, and you're super intimidated, but you're giving it, and you're doing your best, and you know you got it because you can feel all the heads turning towards you with a shocked look on their face because they had no idea you could dance like this. So I don't know what this would do for you, but it totally changed me. Like, it had a huge impact. From then, I started strutting around in the gym as if I owned the place. My classes became packed. I was showing so much confidence. So a few months later, somebody corners me in the change room and says, Nathalie, I have to tell you, we really started respecting you. After what happened to you on that day, you acted as if it was no problem at all. And I'm like, what do you mean? What happened to me on that day? Well, Christy, it turns out I had a wardrobe malfunction on that day. Boom! One of my breasts decided to stick out during the presentation. Yeah. So that's why everybody was looking at me with a shocked look on their face. But of course, when she told me that, I wanted to disappear, but only for a few minutes because it was too late. I was already the queen of the gym because I was responding to a different story in my head. And I'm going to say that again. I was responding to a different story in my head. So that's when I really realized, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter what's happening. What matters is how we interpret that inside our head. What are the stories that we're making inside our head that this could have ruined me? And instead it propelled me, and I became fitness instructor of the year for Canada. I mean, that's a big shift. So I thought, fitness is great. I love that I was changing people's life. I was also a nutrition and wellness specialist. My first books are on nutrition, but my clients that really, really were having success, it was not because I was giving them a better kale salad recipe or showing them a better way to squat. It was because they would change their mindset. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I need to study that. I need to figure out, how do you change somebody's mindset? How do you change people's story inside their head? Because that's where the money is. That's where really is transformational and can absolutely make a difference. So spent the last 2 decades studying neuroscience, created a system that will change people's story so that they respond in a way that will serve them.
I love that. When you were telling your story, I went back to the year, I believe it was 1998 or 99, when the Nutty Professor came out. And I just remember, if you remember that movie, the last thing that the character said was, no matter what, you have to strut. And I just see you going across the stage and you didn't even know what was happening, right? You just was dancing with confidence and you didn't even know what was happening to yourself. Now you talk about this, but it made a difference, right? Because your classes started filling up. People saw that confidence. You didn't even know what happened until somebody came and told you, you know? So you were on a totally different wavelength. So I get it. As a career coach myself, I actually do mindset coaching for
Mm-hmm.
for the mere fact of exactly what you said, right? I tell my clients who are looking for jobs that you're not gonna, you can put in 1 million applications, but you're gonna attract the energy that you put out there, right? And people have to see you being confident. Now, you have your own system. Your Think Yourself system is a trademark system which has helped many people rewrite their internal narratives. And what would you say is the most common limiting belief that people struggle with, and how do you help them to overcome
Mm-hmm. So the common mistake that people do, and maybe I could explain a little bit what this system is all about. Let's pretend you're doing a kitchen renovation, and um, you are making a folder with samples. That would be the first step. So you want to know what you want in your kitchen. So you want these cupboards, you'll put a sample of the tiles, you want a sample of this countertop, this hardwood floor, paint chip. You put all that in your folder. You make a plan of what you want in your new kitchen. That's step number one. And everybody does that. When you're setting up goals, everybody's making a list and measurable, smart, like the SMART goals, or they make a vision board. Like, people are really good at the first step. So my system has 3 steps. So everybody does the first step very, very well. They figure out what they want, establishing goals. Now, the common mistake is that people go straight to step number 3. So they try to implement these new habits in their life. They decided that they want to live a healthier life, or they want to be more productive, or build a business, and they try to build that. They try to implement this. So that would mean they're trying to install the cupboards over top of the existing cupboards in the house. They try to put the island over top of the existing island.
it?
That is step 3. Everybody's skipping step 2. And step 2 is gutting out the old kitchen. You need to remove everything that's in the way before you can install something else. You need to get rid of your limiting belief, bad habits, negative emotion, anger, fear, hurt, sadness, guilt, past trauma, all the stuff that might be holding you back before you can go to step 3. And the most common piece, and that's what I do, that second piece, and that limiting belief. When you ask the question, what's the most common limiting belief, the everything around the enough part, the I'm not thin enough, smart enough, pretty enough, rich enough. There's this enough theme, in that middle part, that it doesn't really matter how hard you will work. Or just, let's take the example of somebody that's trying to lose weight, and they are doing exercise and nutrition, right? So they exercise and they try to eat well. These are behaviors. So there's 6 layers in the brain, that, following the research of um, Robert Dilts. So those 6 layers are your environment. So that's the people around you, the stuff around you. That, if we inside our analogy of somebody trying to lose weight, it's your spandex that you're wearing, your running shoes, your gym equipment, the treadmill, the food you eat. That's your environment, and the people around you that are influencing your behaviors. The second layer is your behaviors, is what you do. That's where exercise and nutrition are. Then there's your skills, becoming good at eating well and exercising well. So you become skilled into these areas. But then there's 3 other layers that people forget. There's the beliefs and value. And that's where your question was. What are the beliefs that you have? And if somebody believes that whenever they lose weight, they're always getting it back, or if they believe that the next level, the I am, the identity level, I am not good enough, I am weak, I am overweight, I am. So if your problem is in the belief or the identity level, you can never reach the 6th layer, which is purpose, which is who else are you serving beyond yourself? So once you have all these layers aligned, that's when you can turn towards each other and say, okay, now why am I here now? What's my purpose? And you can live your purpose when everything else is aligned. And the problem is, if somebody has the belief that they will always gain it back, even if they exercise and eat well, that's a behavior. You can't fix a behavior. You can't fix with a behavior a problem that's happening in identity or in belief. And the I am not good enough, just like you can't fix I am not good enough at level 5 at identity, if you are fixing it with an environmental solution, buying a designer purse or a big truck or a beautiful big mansion, it's never going to work, because that's an environmental solution that you're trying to apply to a level 5 identity problem. So you need to address the problem where it is. And very often it's at belief and identity. I am not good enough. And that's the problem. You can work as hard as you possibly can, but you're going against your uh, your layers of the person's self, really.
Right. It's just putting a band-aid on the wound without actually working, putting working to heal the wound. When I specialize in what is called rational emotive behavior therapy techniques, right? And it's the cognitive model that's based along what exactly what you said. Before I can change your behavior, we have to get to the root cause of why you are thinking what you think. When a client comes to me, I know that it's never, again, I focus on the career space, right? But when a client comes to me, I know that it's that whatever they're telling me, that's really never the issue. Sometimes it is, because, when you're doing career coaching, it could be very transactional in terms of like me writing a resume or LinkedIn. But if we're doing career with mindset, usually the mindset piece or whatever they're telling me, this story about them having this challenge, it's never the issue. It's always a much deeper cause. And until you address that, is exactly what you said. Until we address the behavior, the root cause of the issue is kind of how I say it, right? Until we address that, we're not going to see any change. It's like, this is why people find themselves on a hamster wheel. Now, you talk so much about, I learned just from listening to you, right? These 6 layers of the brain, and it goes to show the amount of research that you put into doing the work that you're doing and developing your expertise over the past few years. Now, burnout is one of the issues that, as an entrepreneur, I don't know if your clients come to, sometimes my clients have mental burnout, right? Burnout seems to be like one of those issues that really affects us as entrepreneurs, as leaders. It can impact your confidence. And you have experienced this yourself as part of your own story. How did you rediscover balance in your life, and what advice would you give to others who are facing similar situations?
Mm-hmm. See, when we're working for ourselves, it's very easy to either procrastinate, slack off, and not work enough, or to go the other route. And most entrepreneurs do the reverse. They work all the time, way too much. I was very successful. We're going back at least 10 years ago, and way before the pandemic. I had 5 trainers working for me. I'm a speaker, so I do a lot of conferences, and I was hosting events every 2 weeks in all major cities in Canada. And every single time we would host an event, more people wanted to coach one-on-one with me, so I would get more clients, busier, and I was like exhausted. And I was making lots of money, and I was like, okay, that's my dream of becoming an entrepreneur. Cool. My friends are going on holidays for 2 weeks and I can't even take a day off. How are they doing it? I mean, I never spend time with the kids. I can never see my husband. But yay, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm making money. I got to rethink my thing. It's not going to work for me. So I really had to um, work smarter and rearrange the way that I was delivering my services, rearrange the way that I was making myself available to clients, and and a few things. So you ask, how did you fix that, and how did you rearrange your life for a more balanced life? One of them was technology, because I was that person that couldn't figure out the remote control. I had that big limiting belief, I am bad with technology. See, identity level, I am bad with technology. So it was at my identity level, I'm that person. And I decided that I was going to get rid of that. And transform this limiting belief and instead say, okay, I'm willing to learn. Somebody will tell me where to click, and I'm smart. I can learn this. So I've learned lots of processes, automations. I'm really organized with my CRM. I started to record some of my content because with your clients must be the same thing. You feel like a broken record. It's always the same thing that you repeat over and over to all those clients. And we charge quite a bit of a high fee when people want to work one-on-one with me. So I thought, could I get myself pre-recorded so people could purchase my intellectual property at a much lower cost in a recording form? And this was 10 years ago. So nobody was doing online courses back then. It was way before the pandemic. So I have now 25 online courses and different ways of receiving my advice and my intellectual property. So there's working smarter that really made a difference for me, but it started with my own limiting belief that I thought it was bad with technology. And now I have lots of systems, automation, and trusting that somebody else can do it too. Like I was always the one delivering the main pieces. Now I still have 5 staff, and I send my staff to some speaking engagements, and they, I'm still managing the workload of everybody, but now I work 8 months a year. I spend 2 months in California during the winter. I take always a month off at Christmas, a month off during the summer. I don't work that hard anymore. And some of my clients, where I sent, for example, Angela, I would tell them, hey, if you want, I can come next time. My staff, and they're like, no, we want Angela. And I'm like, oh, they don't want me anymore because my staff is better than I am. And that was a limiting belief as well, to think that nobody could replace me, that I'm the only one and I'm so great that, like, let's face it, everybody has a different style, and there's a way. I have a coaching certification so people can become coaches and do what I do, and I decided to help others do the same thing that I do, so that they can also create their own business and work for themselves and be successful with the systems that I spent years creating, and they don't have to make the same mistakes than me. So I've decided to put things available for others to be able to do that too, and now it's exponential for my business. It gives me freedom, and it allows me to have a life. And if I want to go on holidays, I go.
Well, I love that. Now, so let's bring this all together and just talk about this thing of confidence, right? I still love that story that you told in the beginning of how you got started with this, right? So in your experience, how does building unshakable confidence affect a person's career or business? I definitely know how it impacts my client's career, but and we see it in your story, but just reiterate to us, how does it impact career or business, especially in terms of leadership? And you kind of just shared that, right? Just thinking how you had to be the one to do it all, but now you've created a system where you're training other coaches to replicate. You have many yous, you're replicating you to do the things that you're doing.
So let's talk a little bit about the impact that it has on leadership. Pretend that you're trying to go to Los Angeles and you're working really hard. So you have a goal in your life. So it's another analogy. I've been accused of being the queen of metaphors and analogies. So let's say you have your goal. You want to become an entrepreneur. You're building your business, or you're a leader in an organization. You want to do the best job you can. You want to leave a legacy. You want to make a difference, and you're working super hard. So you get up super early in the morning, and you do your meditation, and then you do your affirmations. You prep your meal because you want to stay healthy, and then all day you solve problems, and you need to start a podcast, and then you need to post on social media. You also need to have online courses, and there's so many things you have to do. You finish your day, you're absolutely exhausted, but now you have to take care of the kids and bath and homeworks and all that. And you had decided to get back in shape, but after all of this and taking care of the whole world, Netflix with a bottle of wine sounds a lot more appealing. So it's like you are trying to go to Los Angeles, but you're in an aircraft that's flying to New York City. you're trying to go to British Columbia, Vancouver, but you're in an aircraft that's flying to Halifax. So it's never going to work if you stay in that aircraft. So a lot of people ask me, so, okay, how do I get off that aircraft? Well, it's an analogy. You don't get off that aircraft because I'm talking about your brain right now. So you can't get off your brain or remove it. It's not happening. The key is to talk to the pilot and say, hey, ma'am pilot, do you mind turning around? This is where I want to go. Imagine how much faster you're going to get there once the pilot is on board. That pilot, I call it your personal assistant. Okay, so there's many parts of the brain. There's the logical mind and the unconscious mind. Those two parts I love. I talk a lot about the prefrontal cortex, the limbic brain, but let's talk mainly about, because neuroscience is my thing. The logical mind is that 5 to 9 pieces of information at once. So can't really multitask. That's the one that's exhausted at the end of the day, that can't figure things out. Your unconscious mind can process 2.3 million pieces of information every second. It's very, very powerful. And that personal assistant is that pilot of the aircraft. And you need to talk to that personal assistant. But the problem is, leaders and everybody wakes up in the morning. They wake up and they look at themselves in the mirror and they go, I'm so tired. I'm so stressed out. I think I'm gaining weight. So then personal assistant writes it down. Tired, stressed out, getting weight, got this, tired. Oh, I'm going to keep her awake all night. She's not going to be able to sleep. She's going to be really tired in the morning.
Yeah.
Check. Stressed out. Oh, I'm going to make him delete a very important appointment on his calendar. That's going to be stressful. Check. Gaining weight. Oh, I'm going to make them eat French fries or chocolate today. Check. Easy. So your personal assistant is constantly listening and making sure that whatever you put on the notepad is happening. So we have to be very careful how we talk to that personal assistant. That's the pilot. So let's make sure that whatever you tell your personal assistant, there's ways to talk to your unconscious mind with what you want and not what you don't want. People come to me all the time. I don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to be rushing everywhere. I don't want to be impatient with my kids, and I don't want to be broke. Stress, rush, impatient, broke, got this, check. So if you ask me, what is the main impact that this will have on the leader? It will turn their plane around. If you start working at 2.3 million pieces of information every second versus 5 to 9, like, it's a huge difference. Just like when you're driving to a brand new address and you're slowing down to look at the numbers on the houses, you have to lower the volume on the radio. Have you ever noticed that? Right? Mm-hmm. That's because you're driving at a logical level. 5 to 9 pieces of information is not that much after all. So we need to start living at the unconscious level with our deeper structure, the most powerful structure in the universe. That's a complex structure that we have, our brain. And when you start using it, talking to your brain and your personal assistant with what you want instead of what you don't want, it makes a huge difference. And I'm not talking about vague affirmations. I'm not talking about people do that affirmation, like they wake up in the morning, I am smart. But see, that the problem with affirmations is that they don't work if you don't believe them. There's way too often a huge disconnect between the reality and the affirmations. If I work with people that are in deep financial struggles, and I say, look in the mirror and say, I am rich, the personal assistant's like, no, we're not. Oh, we must be watching a vampire movie. Vampires don't exist. I'm not writing this down, right? There's way too big of a disconnect, right? Yeah. Or I work with I work with a lot of corporations. So what I do specifically in corporation, I do speaking engagement, and then I do one-on-one with the VPs, the leaders, the managers, to really get rid of their different things. Like one of my clients had been backstabbed by one of his partners, and he was about to lose his company. We're talking about not million, billions of dollars. It was a huge financial company. And it came to me. I'm on speed dial for a lot of people. And he was angry. He was hurt. He was over himself. And what did I do? Did I say, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am calm? Well, no, he's not calm right now. This is not how you do it. So I'll give you a 2-step technique that you can use whenever you hear something bad in your head. Okay, so let's say you hear, oh, I'm so stressed out. And then you're like, oh no, I was on Dr. Christy Taylor's show, and then I've read the article, I've seen the video, and then there was this girl that was talking about the personal assistant, and now I just told my personal assistant that I want to be stressed out. No, no, scratch that off. Don't write that down. What do I do? What do I do? Here's the step. Step number one, you repeat the nasty thought you just heard in the past. And yes, that thought that keeps repeating in your head, that's the one. You will say, I used to be stressed out. So you say it again in the past. Now your personal assistant's listening to this. Oh, stressed out. Oh, I have this right here on my list. Oh, you're talking to me. Okay, I'm listening. But why are we talking about this in the past? Are we done with this? Should I scratch that off or what? What do I do? So now it's time for step number two, a progressive statement. A progressive statement starts with I am willing to learn, or I'm in the process of. Okay. So, oh, I'm so stressed out. Wait, I used to be stressed out. Now I'm willing to learn how to change that. I'm in the process of building a balanced life. Now I'm willing to learn how to say no. Now I'm right. So fill in the blank. So step number one, put it in the past, repeat it in the past. I used to. Step number two, I am willing to learn, or I'm in the process of changing that. So how to change that or changing that fits with almost everything. So use the two-step technique.
Yeah, I like that. It kind of reminds me of this mantra called the power of yet, right? Like, okay, here's what I was in the past, not where I want to be, but I'm going to say those things. And I think that that's where I always say I'm not like other mindset coaches, because I truly do what you just said. I hate when people go, just wake up and drink some tea in the morning and say that I am the best, that I have overcome and achieved. Because I'm like, there is a disconnect. People are not, people when they struggle with being consistent with their process of saying those aspirations to themselves, you're absolutely right. Because the reason why it's hard to be consistent is because there's a disconnect between the reality and what you're saying. You have to personalize these experiences for yourself, right? So in addition to, I have two more questions for you. So in addition to this great work that you've done, I mean, there's been so much from this interview, but I want you to tell us a little bit about your Think Yourself Positive for Kids program, which really seems like it's going to be an amazing initiative, or it is an amazing initiative. And how can parents and educators help children build self-esteem and resilience early on? Because you mentioned having children yourself. And so I'm sure that this is something that's really close and dear to your heart. So I want you to tell the audience about this program that you've launched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a program. It's since 2019. I think we started working on that in 2018. So the Adventures of Captain Vic is for children's age 5 to 7. So there's two different programs, if you'd like. The Adventures of Captain Vic's for parents at home with their child, or for teachers. So we also sell that in schools, and teachers do that with their class, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2. So Captain Vic is a parrot, and Captain Miserable is also a pirate. So they're comics. So they watch the cartoon, and it always starts with Captain Miserable that arrives around the island, and then driving the boat and saying, "Oh, there's big rocks. I hope that I don't hit the rocks." And then there's the parrot that repeats, hit the rocks, hit the rocks." So of course, what Captain Miserable does, he hits the rocks because the parrot said to hit the rocks. So we're teaching them that personal assistant, the voice inside our head, right? So we teach them. So there's 5 different levels to building a creative mind, and we're building perseverance, resiliency, and self-esteem, right? So the 5 steps are realizing you have an inner power, you have an inner parrot that's talking to you. There's the inner words, so talking with positive word. So once they've watched Captain Miserable destroy his boat, then they watch Captain Vic that says, same story. Oh, there's lots of rocks around the island. I need to steer away from the rocks. And then Posey the parrot goes, away from the rocks. And then, of course, Captain Vic goes away from the rocks and he goes to the island to find the treasure. So that's the positive inner words. Then we've got the inner magic, which is that 2-step technique that I was telling you about, except that for the kids it's just one. Like we've got a one extra step to calm down before. So there's the magic formula that the kids do by thinking about a solution, calming down, and then announcing their victory when they found a solution. So teachers in classroom, when a child starts to get disorganized, they just have to do this. They do the symbol with the two fingers up, and then, oh, the balloons go up, and immediately the kid remembers, oh, my V for victory, that's my Captain Vic technique, that I need to calm down, I need to think of a solution, and I need to talk the way I would want my parrot to respond, because the parrot is going to make sure that what happens is going to happen. So even we've got testimonials of teachers that are telling us that the kids are now correcting the teachers, because the teachers are out at recess and they say, don't step in the water, and then the kids are like, oh, you're talking like Captain Miserable, and then they do this sign. We didn't make that up, but they do the M for miserable. Like, you're talking like Captain Miserable. You have to tell us to walk outside on the dry part. Don't, because if you say, don't forget your book, don't be stupid, don't, right, like it's re-educating the people, educating the kids at the same time, and the kids learn to speak with a positive language, and then to say what they want instead of what they don't want. So that has a huge impact. And it really started with a client leaving my office at 55 years old telling me, oh, wow, the tremendous impact you had in one session. I wish I met you when I was 5 years old. My life would have been so different. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I can do something about that. So that's when I partner up with a teacher, a 35 years experience teacher of kindergarten, and her and I created this program together for schools and for parents, Captain Vic. Yeah.
So you have just done an outstanding job. I mean, this interview, we've talked about everything from how you started to where you got, how you got to where you are today. And as part of the series, we really focus on impact and change maker. So in my final question to you, what does impact look like for you, right? What does you being a change maker look like? And what final piece of advice would you give to someone who's just looking to unlock their full potential and get to that next step?
Mm-hmm. So impact for me, if I may, is arriving home and, you know, somebody had a busy day, one of my client executive, 300 employees, and they're bombarded the whole day, and now they're chopping vegetable in the kitchen, and they're thinking about the bills that they have to pay, the problems they have to solve, and then their child comes behind them in the kitchen and says, hey daddy, and then they turn around and they go, what? And they regret immediately, and they say, oh, what have I just done? This is not how I wanted to respond. So impact and success is to turn around and say, yes, sweetie, what can I do for you? Because we know what to do. We know what is right. We know in that drawer of ours, we have all the answers, all the possible way we can answer problems and things that are thrown at us. Change is constant. The stuff hits the fan all the time. Mm-hmm. So impact is being able to step up and be your best in those situations. No matter what's happening, you can be at your very best. And impact for me personally is the sooner my client doesn't need me, the fastest I succeeded. So I'm not an accountability coach that will see somebody for 20 years in a row every Tuesday morning. I do 3 session, 4 session, 8 session, and we fix what's happening. I do the second step. We got out the old kitchen, and now they are equipped to everything they need. Now, of course, I have been working with people for 10, 15 years. I have a client that's 18 years in the making, because they come back 3 months later. Now, can you help me with my new girlfriend? Or now, can you help me with my teenage daughter that's not talking to me? Now, can you help me with this promotion that I'm applying on at work? Now, can you help me with this dilemma that I have with a big business decision for my business? So they come back, but my job is to go in, fix what it is. Sometimes it's 1 session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions. I get hired a lot in corporations to fix the bad apple. You know how consultants are hired to fire the bad apple? I get in to fix them, because see, hurt people. that bad apple usually has been there for 25 years. You can't fire them because it'd be way too expensive anyway. And they are so good at their job. They are amazing at what they do, but everybody around hates them, and you're losing talent because everybody's leaving and quitting because of that person. So I get in, I fix that person. Hurt people hurt people, but when you're not hurt anymore, you won't hurt people. Like I fix them. Like trauma, PTSD is real. I have specific processes that I do. I work with Army vets. I've worked with the Navy. I work with people that have been abused and trauma and or car accident, plane crash, whatever it is. And you don't need to have been in a house on fire to have PTSD. Sometimes it's just you were backstabbed in your previous job and now you're not trusting your team. And a lot of consultants hire me as their, so they have a 12 months program changing an organization culture, but they're hitting a few bad apples. Or sometimes it's the CEO that's got big limiting beliefs. So they get me in, I come in 3-4 sessions with that CEO, fix them, give it back to the consultant that now can do their job better. So impact for me is quick, it's transformational, and it's I'm working hard for my clients to not need me anymore. Very bad business model, but
Well, you know what? The goal with coaching is, for us to work together to address this issue and to come back. So you're right on target with that. Natalie, this has been a fantastic interview. Anybody who comes in and listens to this, they, should be able to get some tidbits from you. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you? We're going to list your information in the description for any post that we make regarding this interview. But just tell the audience, where can they find you and how can they connect with you, as well as any events that you have coming up that you want to plug?
Thinkyourself.com. So thinkyourself.com. Think Yourself is the brand. So Think Yourself Positive for kids. Think Yourself Successful. Think Yourself Confident is my number one book. So Think Yourself is the brand. Now, I could offer everybody, if you want a free virtual coffee, so you can go to thinkyourself.com/schedule. So it's a 15-minute. If you are interested in just having a quick chat, we can do a lot in 15 minutes. I have very quick processes, so feel free to use that. Or you can download my 22 questions. So thinkyourself.com/22 questions. So when you're facing stress, so when you're just about to panic, what do you do? So you can read your question and you cannot not answer a question. So definitely it diffuses the bomb and then it changes your mindset right away. So 22 questions, thinkyourself.com/22 questions. Feel free to download that tool.
Well, thank you, Natalie. This has been a fantastic interview. And those of us tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Whenever you see this interview, this has been another episode of our Changemaker series interview here at Work Global News Magazine. And we were so excited to learn from Natalie today. So stay tuned. We got many interviews coming up and stay connected. Thank you.
Thank you so much.